I still remember the moment everything shifted between us, so subtly, so silently, that I didn't even realize something inside him had cracked. It was a calm Sunday evening, the kind where the world feels soft and slow, and nothing seems capable of going wrong. The sun had dipped low enough to cast a warm orange glow across our apartment, making the living room look like a cozy little movie set. I was curled up on the couch, legs tucked under me, scrolling through video reviews of the Apple Vision Pro 2. Every creator online was losing their minds over it. The realism, the clarity, the immersion, it felt less like a headset and more like stepping into a different universe. Maybe it sounded silly, but after weeks of back-to-back shifts and barely any sleep, I wanted something that felt futuristic, something that felt like a reward. Something that reminded me that I was allowed to want nice things too. That thought alone made my heart flutter a little. Ethan was in the kitchen, rinsing a glass, humming some random tune. It felt like one of those harmless, peaceful domestic moments couples have. And maybe that's why I felt safe enough to finally say it. Babe, I really want the Vision Pro 2. I expected him to smile, tease me, ask why. But instead, he froze. Not dramatically, just a small pause, like the universe stuttered for a fraction of a second. The running water kept hitting the sink, but he didn't move. His shoulders stiffened almost imperceptibly, but I saw it. I felt it. Anna, what did you say? His voice wasn't angry. It was too steady, too slow, like he was forcing it to stay calm. I said I want the new Vision Pro 2, I repeated, trying to sound playful. Everyone's using it. It looks amazing. And I don't know, I want it. He put the glass down in a way that was almost deliberate. Not loud, not aggressive, just controlled. Then he wiped his hands on a towel and began walking toward me. The sound of his footsteps felt heavier than usual, as if each step carried something he wasn't saying. I sat up straighter. Something about the way he was approaching made my stomach tighten. He didn't sit beside me. He didn't stand still either. He simply looked at me for a second, then said quietly, "Come with me." Before I could ask why, he took my wrist. Not harshly, but firmly enough that I knew he wasn't joking. He led me toward the bedroom, and my mind raced the entire time. Was he upset because it was expensive? Because I sounded demanding? Because he thought I was comparing our lives to others? When he closed the bedroom door behind us, the soft click echoed louder in my chest than it did in the room. He leaned against the door, his head lowered a little, breathing deep, like he was preparing himself. "Anna, why do you want that thing so badly?" he asked, and there was something raw in his tone. I hesitated, trying to find the right words. "Because I've been tired, Ethan. I've been working nonstop. I just want something for myself. Something that makes me feel like I'm not always struggling." His eyes softened for a second, but only for a moment. "So the first thing you ask for is a device?" That hit me in a way I wasn't prepared for. "No, Ethan, that's not what I meant. I just wanted to feel. To feel valued? To feel important? To feel like you matter," he finished for me, stepping closer. I swallowed hard, because yes, that was exactly it. I wanted something that made me feel like the world wasn't passing me by. He gently took both my hands. "Anna, you don't need a Vision Pro 2 to feel special." For a brief moment, I felt understood. Safe even. But then he added softly, "Because if buying things is what makes you feel happy, I'm scared you'll never be happy with me." Those words didn't just land, they shattered something inside me. And before I could say a single thing back, the room felt colder. I stood there in the silence of our bedroom feeling like the ground beneath me had shifted in a way I couldn't understand. Ethan's words kept echoing inside my mind as if they had been carved into the walls around us. He wasn't angry, yet something in him felt bruised, and something in me felt misunderstood. I wanted to speak, but the right words weren't forming. Everything felt tight inside my chest, like my emotions had tangled themselves into a knot. Ethan stepped away from the door and walked toward the window. The curtains were slightly open, letting in a sliver of moonlight that stretched across the floor. He stopped there quietly with his back to me, and I could see the slight rise and fall of his shoulders. I didn't know if he was upset with me or hurt by something deeper I hadn't noticed until now. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. "Anna, do you ever feel like you're slipping away from me?" My breath caught because I wasn't expecting that. Slipping away? Ethan, no. Why would you even think that? He turned to face me, and in that moment he looked like a man who had been carrying a weight he didn't know how to share. "You've been so busy. So stressed. So distant lately. I know you're working hard, but you barely smile anymore. And when you finally ask for something, it's something expensive, something futuristic, something that takes you into another world. It felt like maybe that world was where you wanted to be instead of here with me." Those words sliced through me in a way I wasn't ready for. Because they weren't accusations. They were fears. And I hadn't even realized he was carrying them. "Ethan, I'm not going anywhere," I said softly. "I'm tired, yes. And maybe I wanted something that made me feel like I still had control over something in my life. But that doesn't mean I want to escape from you." He looked at me for a long moment. Then why did it feel like I wasn't enough? The question broke my heart because I never wanted him to feel that way. I stepped closer, hesitant at first, but then with more certainty. "Ethan, listen to me. You are enough. You've always been enough." I just didn't know how to say what I was feeling. I wasn't thinking about the price or comparing you to anyone. I just wanted a moment that felt mine. He took a breath as if those words eased him slightly. He sat on the edge of the bed and rested his elbows on his knees, pressing his hands together. He looked exhausted emotionally and mentally, and I realized that my request had touched something fragile inside him. I sat beside him, leaving only a slight gap between us. "Tell me what's going on." "Not about the Vision Pro. About you." He let out a slow breath and stared at his hands. "I've been saving," he said quietly. "Not for bills or emergencies. For us. For something special. Something meaningful. I wanted to surprise you. And when you asked for the Vision Pro 2, it felt like maybe all my efforts were small. Like I couldn't give you the excitement or luxury you wanted." My heart squeezed. "Ethan, I didn't know." "I know you didn't. But it hit me harder than I expected." I reached for his hand, and this time he didn't pull away. "Ethan, you not buying me something never made you less. You being here, supporting me, caring for me, that means more than anything. I wanted something nice because I was burned out, not because I wanted something instead of you." For the first time that evening, I saw his shoulders relax. "I just don't want to lose you," he whispered. "You won't," I said with complete certainty. But I think we both needed this conversation more than we realized. He looked up at me, and something warm flickered in his eyes again. Something familiar. Something safe. But before either of us could say anything else, something unexpected happened. A notification buzzed on his phone. He glanced at the screen, and his expression changed fast, too fast. Something had happened. Something he clearly didn't want me to see. The moment Ethan looked at his phone, something inside him shifted. His eyes widened just slightly, but it was enough for me to notice. His shoulders tensed again, the same way they had earlier when I mentioned the Vision Pro 2. He locked the phone quickly as if the screen had burned him, and he slipped it into his pocket before I could get a glimpse of anything. My heart tightened. Not because I suspected something bad, but because all evening had already felt emotionally fragile, and now this sudden reaction added a new layer of confusion. What happened? I asked quietly. Nothing, he replied too fast. The word dropped between us like a stone. Nothing never meant nothing. Not when it came out that quickly, not when his eyes avoided mine the way they were now. Ethan, look at me, I said softly. He didn't. He kept staring at the floor, jaw clenched, as if he were fighting with himself. I reached out and touched his arm gently. Whatever it is, you can tell me. After a few seconds, he finally lifted his head. His eyes weren't angry or hurt this time, they looked worried. Nervous. And something else I couldn't quite understand. Anna, I don't want this night to get more complicated than it already is. That's not answering me. He exhaled slowly, rubbing his forehead with his palm. It's just a message. It's not important. Then why did your face change like that? He didn't respond. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. The room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were inching closer. I wasn't angry, but a knot of fear formed inside me because Ethan wasn't usually like this. He didn't hide things. He didn't shut down. And the timing, the moment after such an emotional conversation, made everything feel heavier. Ethan, I whispered, is something wrong? Did something happen? He swallowed hard. It's not what you think. I'm not thinking anything. I just want to know. His hands tightened together, and he finally said, it's about money. The words hit me unexpectedly. Money? He nodded. I've been trying to manage things on my own. Work's been unstable. Hours cut. I didn't want to stress you with it because you've already been dealing with so much. And today, that message was another reminder. A soft ache spread in my chest. Ethan, why didn't you tell me? I didn't want you to feel guilty about wanting something, he said quietly. Or feel like you needed to adjust your desires around my struggles. I wanted to be the one who gave you things, not the one who held you back. My heart twisted at his honesty. You're not holding me back, I said gently. And you don't have to protect me from everything. We're supposed to share the heavy stuff too. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing in slowly. I know. I just didn't want to disappoint you. You didn't, I whispered. But before he could say anything else, his phone buzzed again. And this time, he didn't move to hide it. The second buzz echoed through the room like it carried its own weight. Ethan didn't reach for his phone this time. He just stared at it where it lay on the nightstand, glowing softly in the dim light. His jaw tightened for a moment before he finally picked it up and glanced at the screen. His expression didn't shift as dramatically as before, but I could see the tension in the corners of his eyes. Whatever was happening wasn't small. Ethan, I said carefully, you can show me. I'm not going to judge you. He hesitated for a long moment before turning the screen slightly so I could see it. A message preview was still visible. Bank alert, your balance has dropped below the minimum requirement. My heart sank. Not because of the number, but because he had been dealing with this alone. All the worry he carried earlier suddenly made sense in a sharper way. He hadn't been hiding something wrong. He had been hiding his struggle. Ethan, why didn't you tell me it was this serious? I asked. He set the phone down and rubbed the back of his neck. Because it shouldn't be your burden. I'm supposed to be taking care of things. I thought it was temporary. A dip. Something I could fix before you even noticed. But now it's not temporary, I said quietly. He nodded. Hours got cut again last week. And I've been using my savings to cover rent and groceries and a few other things. I didn't want you to worry, so I acted like everything was normal. My throat tightened. You've been doing all of that by yourself? I wanted to. I thought I could handle it. But when you mentioned the Vision Pro 2, it hit me that I can't even think about something like that right now. And I felt like I was failing you. I sat down beside him again, this time closer, close enough to feel the heat from his skin. Ethan, you're not failing me. Struggling doesn't mean failing. Hiding it does. He closed his eyes for a moment as if my words landed deeper than he expected. I didn't want you to see me as someone who couldn't give you the life you wanted. I don't want a life filled with things, I said. I want a life filled with us. And knowing what you're going through doesn't make me look at you differently. If anything, it makes me want to hold you tighter. He finally looked at me, and for the first time that night something calm flickered in his eyes. I didn't want you to feel guilty for wanting something nice. I don't, I said softly. But I also don't want to enjoy anything while you're carrying this weight alone. He breathed out slowly, the kind of breath that sounded like relief and fear mixed together. I didn't expect this conversation tonight. Neither did I admitted. But maybe we needed it. He nodded gently. But as I reached for his hand, he pulled it back slightly. Not to reject me, but because he had something else to say. Something heavier. Something he hadn't revealed yet. The moment Ethan pulled his hand back, I felt a shift in the air again. Not cold this time, but tense. He wasn't avoiding me. He wasn't angry. He just looked like a man standing on the edge of something difficult, gathering courage to step forward. He rested his hands on his knees, leaned forward slightly, and stared at the floor as if searching for the right words buried somewhere in the wood grain. Anna, there's something else. Something I should have told you weeks ago. My heartbeat quickened. What is it? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a slow breath, the kind people take when they're preparing to expose a part of themselves they've kept hidden. I've been interviewing, he said finally. Not for a better position. For anything. Anything at all. Places I never thought I'd apply to. Jobs way below what I'm qualified for. Just to keep us afloat. I felt my chest tighten. Ethan. But that's not the part I'm scared to tell you, he said quietly. He lifted his gaze and met my eyes. There was no anger. No shame. Just a deep fear of disappointing me. I didn't get any of them. The words hit me harder than I expected. Not because of what it meant financially, but because I could see how much it hurt him to say it out loud. Ethan had always been the confident one, the steady one, the one who reassured me when I doubted myself. Seeing him doubt himself now felt like watching a foundation crack. I'm sorry, I whispered. He shook his head. Don't be. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you because hiding it made everything worse. The moment you mentioned the Vision Pro earlier, I felt like I was being pulled apart. Not because you did anything wrong, but because I couldn't even imagine giving you something like that right now. My eyes stung, not with guilt, but with a deep ache for him. Ethan, you don't have to give me anything. You never did. I wanted to, he said. Not because you needed it. But because I wanted to be someone who could give you the world. And lately, I can't even give myself certainty. He looked away again, jaw tightening as he held back emotions he didn't want to show. I slid closer and placed my hand on his arm gently. This time he didn't pull away. He didn't tense. He just let himself breathe. You're still that person to me, I said softly. You don't have to prove anything with money or gifts. You're enough. Even when life is unfair. Even when things are messy. He closed his eyes, and I could almost feel the heaviness in him loosen, piece by piece. When he opened them again, there was warmth there, fragile but real. I'm scared you'll think less of me. I never will, I said. Not now. Not ever. For the first time that night, Ethan reached for my hand instead of pulling back. But before he could speak, the front door of our apartment opened, and the sound of footsteps entered the hallway. Someone was home. Someone neither of us expected. The sound of footsteps in the hallway cut through the room like a sudden shift in reality. Ethan and I both turned our heads at the same time, eyes widening with the same question. No one was supposed to be home. No guests. No deliveries. No roommates. The apartment door had definitely opened, and the footsteps were steady, confident, almost too familiar. Ethan stood up immediately. Not rushed. Not panicked. Just alert, like instinct had pulled him to his feet before he could think. I followed him out of the bedroom, staying close behind, my heartbeat thudding in my chest. The hallway light flicked on, a soft glow stretching toward us. Then a voice echoed. "Ethan? You here?" I froze. It was a woman's voice. Calm, casual, as if she walked in all the time. Ethan's entire body stiffened, but he didn't move forward. He didn't answer her. He just stood there, shoulders tense as if preparing himself. The woman stepped into view, tall, wearing a work bag slung over her shoulder, dressed in a neat blouse and jacket. She blinked when she saw us standing there, like she hadn't expected anyone else. "Oh," she said with a surprised smile. "I'm sorry, I didn't know you had company." My mind scrambled. "Who is she?" I whispered, barely loud enough for Ethan to hear. He exhaled slowly. "Anna, this is my sister, Mia." Sister. The tension in my chest loosened slightly, but not enough to disappear. Ethan never mentioned she had a key. And judging from her expression, she hadn't expected to walk into raw emotions hanging in the air. Mia stepped closer, her gaze shifting between us. She could sense something heavy in the atmosphere even without hearing a word. "I texted you earlier that I might stop by," she said to Ethan. "I guess you didn't see it." He shook his head. "I didn't." Her eyes softened a little. "Everything okay?" His jaw flexed. "Not exactly." I stood still, unsure whether to stay silent or speak, but Mia's eyes met mine with a calm and steady kindness. "You must be Anna. Ethan mentioned you a few times." I nodded politely, still trying to steady my breathing. "Nice to meet you." She gave a small smile before looking back at Ethan. "You look like you've had a long night." "That's one way to put it," he said. Mia placed her bag down and studied him for a moment. She noticed the strain in his posture the way only family could. "Talk to me," she said gently. Ethan rubbed his forehead. "We're in the middle of it." "Middle of what?" He hesitated. His throat tightened like he was afraid the words would break him again. Mia stepped forward and touched his arm with quiet reassurance, and something in him eased just a little. He finally said, "I lost more hours at work. Money's tight." I didn't know how to tell Anna. Mia nodded slowly. "And you tried handling it alone." He didn't deny it. She sighed in a way only an older sister could, a mixture of frustration and compassion. "Ethan, you don't have to carry everything by yourself." He looked at her. Then at me. For the first time tonight he seemed to realize he wasn't alone at all. But what Mia said next changed the night in a way neither of us expected. The night settled quietly around the apartment as Anna stepped inside with slow steps. The place felt heavier than usual because both of them knew that the next conversation could change everything. She placed her bag on the couch and stood still for a moment, taking a long breath before walking toward Liam, who was waiting near the kitchen counter. His posture looked calm, but his eyes carried a storm. She stopped in front of him, and for a second neither spoke. The silence carried every hurt and every memory they had built. She finally broke the stillness. She told him she had spent the entire day thinking about everything he said. She admitted she felt embarrassed about how obsessed she became with the thought of getting the latest iPhone. She explained she never wanted him to feel used or undervalued. She said she just got carried away because social media made her believe that expensive gifts meant love. She lowered her eyes while saying this because she knew how childish it sounded now. Liam listened with steady attention. He told her he never wanted to shame her. He only wanted her to understand the difference between desire and pressure. He said he felt hurt when she compared him to others online. He said it made him feel like a competition instead of a partner. He stepped closer and lifted her chin gently so she could meet his gaze. He told her he loved her, but he also wanted to feel respected and appreciated for who he was, not for what he could buy. Anna felt her chest tighten with guilt as she apologized again. She confessed she had a fear of losing him, and she thought having the phone was her way of keeping up with girls who bragged about their boyfriends. She told him she now understood how wrong that mindset was, because real relationships were not built on gadgets or price tags. They were built on trust, patience, and honesty. She reached out and held his hand, wanting him to feel her sincerity. He squeezed her hand back and gently pulled her toward the couch. They sat together and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. He told her that he never once thought of leaving her. He only wanted them to grow as a team. He said she was more important to him than anything money could buy. He reminded her of the first day they met and how simple and effortless their bond had felt. Anna smiled softly because that moment was still one of her happiest memories. She leaned her head on his chest and whispered that she wanted to rebuild that simplicity again. She said she was ready to let go of the pressure of online expectations. She said she wanted to focus on them and not on what the world expected. Liam kissed the top of her head and told her they would figure everything out together. He promised that this difficult phase would not break them. Instead, it would shape them into something stronger. Anna closed her eyes, feeling safe again. She realized that this moment mattered more than any luxury item she had ever wished for. This was love. Real, raw, imperfect love. And she knew she wanted to protect it with everything she had. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains and spread across the room with a gentle warmth. Anna woke first and watched Liam sleeping beside her with his arm loosely wrapped around her waist. For the first time in days, she felt a peaceful calm inside her chest. Everything that had happened last night replayed in her mind, and she felt grateful that they had talked with honesty instead of letting misunderstandings tear them apart. She slowly slipped out of bed, trying not to wake him, and walked to the kitchen to make breakfast. As she cooked, she kept thinking about how she wanted to change herself, not for him but for the sake of their relationship. She realized she had spent too much time chasing validation from strangers online. She had forgotten the real world, the one where Liam cared for her, supported her, and loved her without conditions. She decided that today she would do something meaningful for him, something simple yet sincere. Liam woke up a while later and followed the smell of food to the kitchen. He stood in the doorway watching Anna preparing their breakfast with focused eyes and a soft expression on her face. It made him smile because he could see the effort she was trying to make. He walked up behind her and placed his hands on her waist. She turned with a small smile and he leaned down to kiss her forehead. Without speaking, they both felt a quiet understanding pass between them. They sat at the table and ate together. The atmosphere was calmer and lighter. She asked him about his work schedule and he asked if she planned anything for her day. They talked like they used to in the early days of their relationship. After finishing breakfast, Anna told him she wanted to step out for a while. He nodded and offered to drop her, but she said she wanted to go alone because she had something to handle personally. Anna walked to a nearby store where she printed a set of photos of them from different moments of their relationship. Their first date, their first trip, their first New Year celebration together. She chose each photo with care, remembering how happy they had been and how natural their connection had felt. She bought a simple wooden frame and arranged the pictures inside, forming a collage that showed their journey over the years. It was not expensive, but it held real meaning. When she returned home, Liam was sitting on the couch scrolling through his phone. She placed the framed collage in his hands and looked at him with hopeful eyes. He stared at the pictures for a long moment. His expression softened as he traced one of the photos with his thumb. He looked up at her and saw sincerity, dedication, and love in her eyes. He stood and pulled her into a tight embrace. She hugged him back with the same intensity. In that moment, both understood that love was not about gifts or gadgets. It was about shared memories, shared struggles, and shared dreams. Their relationship had found a new strength, and Anna felt proud of the effort she had made to rebuild it. That evening, Anna and Liam decided to spend some quiet time together at home. After days of tension, their apartment finally felt warm and peaceful again, as if the walls themselves were relieved that the silence between them had been replaced with soft understanding. Anna sat on the rug near the coffee table arranging small candles while Liam prepared a simple dinner. They were not celebrating anything special yet, it felt like a new beginning for both of them. When dinner was ready, they sat close, sharing one plate like they sometimes did in the early days of their relationship. Every small gesture, every glance, and every touch felt more meaningful now. Liam watched her laugh at something he said, and he realized just how much he had missed this version of her. Not the influencer chasing perfection, but the real Anna who spoke with warmth and loved with honesty. After eating, Liam surprised her by taking out a small envelope. Anna looked at him confused. He handed it to her and told her to open it. Inside, she found 2 tickets to an immersive art show that she had mentioned months ago but had forgotten about. She looked at him with wide eyes because she never expected him to remember something so small. Liam told her that even when things were difficult, he always paid attention because she mattered to him more than anything else. Her heart melted. She held the tickets gently as if they were fragile. She realized that love was not about how loudly someone showed it, but how consistently they cared. She moved closer and rested her head against his shoulder, feeling comfort settle inside her chest. Later that night, they sat on the balcony watching the city lights flicker in the distance. The air was cool and soft. Anna told him that she wanted to change the way she used social media. She wanted to post real moments, real feelings, not just glamorous snapshots. She expressed her desire to grow without losing herself or hurting the people she loved. Liam listened with full attention, encouraging her without judgment. He told her that he believed in her and that she could become an inspiration for others by being authentic rather than perfect. Anna felt lighter than she had felt in weeks. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the breeze brush against her skin. She realized that she had finally found clarity. She did not need the Vision Pro 2 or any luxurious gadget to feel valuable. She needed connection, trust, and love, and she already had those things with Liam. As the night deepened, they held hands in silence. There was no rush, no noise, no drama. Just 2 people reconnecting after nearly losing each other. Anna whispered softly that she was ready for a future built on honesty and understanding. Liam squeezed her hand gently, telling her that he was ready too. In that peaceful moment, both felt that their hearts had aligned again, stronger and steadier than ever. The next morning, sunlight spread across their apartment, filling every corner with a quiet golden warmth. Anna woke up feeling lighter than she had in a long time. She found Liam in the kitchen making breakfast, humming softly to himself. When he saw her, he smiled in a way that reached his eyes, and she felt her heart settle with calm certainty. They sat together eating pancakes and talking about small things like weekend plans and new recipes they wanted to try. For once, nothing felt heavy or complicated. It felt like love, the simple, steady kind that grows stronger after surviving a storm. After breakfast, Liam asked her to come to the living room. She followed him and noticed a small, neatly wrapped box on the table. Her eyebrows lifted in surprise. Liam told her to open it. When she lifted the lid, she found a simple silver bracelet engraved with the words, "You are enough." No tech, no luxury, just meaning. Tears gathered in her eyes, not from sadness but from a deep, overflowing warmth. She hugged him tightly, realizing that this quiet moment was worth more than any expensive gadget. She whispered that she did not want anything else as long as she had him. Liam held her close, telling her that they would keep choosing each other every day, no matter what pressures life tried to bring. Anna nodded, knowing that this was the love she truly wanted. They spent the rest of the day together, cooking, laughing, planning their trip to the art show, and rediscovering the joy of simply being with each other. Anna felt whole again, grounded and grateful. By evening, both knew that their relationship had stepped into a new chapter, one built on honesty, trust, and a love that no device could ever replace.